Hi guys, how you doing? Yeah, I know. Well, I'm in the Poconos and I'm walking, so somebody came up with this great idea that I'm gonna do Sunday school while we're walking. So bear with me on this, okay? All right. How was your week? Were you doing all right? You got through the schoolwork and everything? All right, good. Because I'm trying to get my stuff done. It's not easy. All right, I wanted to talk about, remember last week we talked about doubting Thomas. We talked about how Thomas didn't believe that Jesus was there, that he had risen from the dead. And the only way that Thomas would believe that was by seeing him and touching him, and touching his hands and touching the side of his, okay, stop, and the side of his body, right? So what we're going to do today is there's another time when Jesus showed himself. And it wasn't to the disciples, it was to two other people. One of them was Cleopas. And so that's why I'm walking, because what they were doing was they were walking to Emmaus. And Emmaus is a town that's like 7 miles from Jerusalem. So they were going to Emmaus and they were talking. And they were talking about the stuff that had been happening with this prophet Jesus, and how he and all the stuff that happened to him, that he was died and he was coming back to life and all of that. So they were talking and they were walking, and then all of a sudden somebody showed up and started walking with them, and it was Jesus, but they didn't know that. So he said, "What's going on?" And they said to him, "Haven't you heard? You're from Jerusalem. You haven't heard all the stuff that's going about this incredible prophet that's been doing all of these miracles and then died and rose?" And he said, they told him about what had happened, that he was judged and they sentenced him to be killed, and they put him on the cross and he died. And then when they brought him down a couple days later, 3 days later, which was like this morning, the two women, Mary and the other Mary, came and they saw him. And when we went to look, because they came and told us, and when we went to look, he wasn't there. And so Jesus said, because they didn't believe he was the Son of God, they didn't believe he was the Messiah, and Jesus said to them, why don't you believe this? It's written in the Bible. And Jesus started teaching them, which was what he was good at, right? So he's teaching them all the stuff that had happened, and all the stuff that not that it happened, that the prophets had said would happen. And he was telling them all about this. And they were feeling like that he knew what he was talking about. So they get to Jerusalem, and not Jerusalem, they get to Emmaus, and they are going to stay in Emmaus. And he starts to leave them. And they said, "No, stay with us." So he did. He stayed with them, and they had a meal. And right before the meal, he took the bread, and he broke the bread. And he gave it to them, and he said, "Do this in remembrance of me." And all of a sudden they realized it was Jesus. And then Jesus left. He disappeared. And they were amazed. They were just amazed that this had happened. And they ran back and they told all the other people and said, "It's true. He's alive." So here's the thing. You either believe or you don't believe, right? And so what happens is that when Thomas didn't believe, Jesus said to him, "What's going on with you? Why would you not believe me? You have to touch me to believe me?" And now here's two more people who believe he was a prophet, believe he was sent by God, but did not believe that he was here to do more than that, to save us. All right, so what do we feel? How do we feel? Do we feel like Thomas, and do we feel like those two people that didn't believe until they saw it, didn't believe until they touched it? Or do we believe without touching and without seeing and without being there at the time? I don't know. I don't know if I believe all the time. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I really believe. And sometimes I'm afraid that I don't believe. So here's the thing. We have to decide. Do we believe or don't we believe? And the other thing is, how did Jesus feel? He was like annoyed. He was annoyed with Thomas, and he was annoyed with the other two, Cleopas and the other one, because they didn't believe, even though he told them to believe. But in the end, he forgave them. so even if we don't believe, even if we don't necessarily always get it, he still forgives us and he's still there for us. And that's what keeps me going, right? Because I can be upset, I can be scared, and Jesus will forgive me for that and still be there for me. And I think that if we connect that to what's happening now, the fear of losing somebody who's going to be sick, or the fear of never going back to school again, or the fear of never being able to go to the beach, and you connect that to what Jesus is saying, which Jesus is saying, I'm going to take care of you. It's going to be okay. So maybe what we can do is take that. And maybe not all the time do we believe it, but we can take it and we can know that it's there. And we can also know that Jesus forgives us for not always believing. So here's what I think. This is the bottom line of what I think. I think that Jesus is there for us. I think that he will always be there for us. I think he wants us to believe him even without proof. But I also think he forgives us when we don't always believe that. I think he forgives us when we do the things that he says are wrong, but then go back and say, I was wrong doing that. All right. I don't know. I don't know if this is true or not. All I know is that for now, it's here, it's for us. So in your email, there is a coloring page you can color. There's a craft that you can do with directions. And that email you can send back to me if you want to talk to me, if you want to complain or cry or tell me a joke. Okay? I love you guys.